Well, hi everybody. Thanks for joining us on what promises to be another great edition of the 19th Hole podcast for golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers. We have a special show for two reasons. I've got a very special guest sitting next to me in studio, and we have a very special guest long distance. But anyway, welcome in. We're coming to you, of course, live from the fabulous Rigel Studios, right in the heart of Las Vegas, moments away from the Las Vegas Strip. And I've got to tell you, we're experiencing some very cold weather for Las Vegas. We've had rain, we've had wind. I was up early this morning. 34 degrees, if you can believe it. So, they're getting frost delays on all of the golf courses. So I hope that wherever you're watching us from, you've got good weather and you're able to get out and play some golf. So right now, let me introduce the gentleman that's sitting next to me. You probably are familiar with him, Jamie McWilliams, who lives in Florida. He decided to come out to Las Vegas and bother me and give me a visit, but he's my co-host on a great short feature that we do together called Senior Delinquents. And if you look at his shirt, you could probably tell it's Senior Delinquent. So welcome, my friend. Glad to have you on the 19th hole.
Why did you have to tick me off already? You said I would get top billing, and Bob got it. I mean, really, Dennis.
Yeah. So, welcome. I'm sorry that the weather isn't better for you.
Well, when I left, we set a record high of
you were
86
telling me.
degrees coming from Florida to here. But you know what? I actually had to lengthen my shorts because of the cold weather.
Yeah.
I love the change in temperature. It doesn't really bother me.
I know that you do, and what is happening? It's very cool weather, but it's a beautiful day. The sun's out. There's no wind, so if you could bundle up, I mean, you can actually make it around, around a few holes if you got that flask going, in your golf bag. But anyway, I want to get started, and I want to tell you a little bit about our guest. You're probably familiar with him. He's a guest on the show often because he's a terrific guy and a terrific guest. Dr. Bob Winters, aka Dr. Bob, aka the Confidence Doctor, aka, well, I really can't say that on live television, so I'll go past that. Bob is an internationally renowned sports psychologist. He's an author, and he is a professional speaker. Dr. Bob is the resident sports psychologist for the David Ledbetter Golf Academy, headquartered at Champions Gate in Orlando, Florida. Dr. Bob teaches and coaches elite amateur players, tour professionals from all of our major tours, and Dr. Bob is an author as well and the head of Mind Power Sports that he started way back in 1983. So with that, let's bring Dr. Bob up on camera and welcome him to the show as we like to do. And Dr. Bob, welcome again to the 19th hole. We appreciate you taking time out and joining us.
Well, it's great to be here on the 19th hole with you, Dennis. You silver fox, you, and sitting right there next to Jamie. And it's great to meet you finally, Jamie. I've heard a lot of great things about you, so it's great to be back on the show.
Well, I have to say something. I'm still really ticked off. Not just the top billing, but why do you have you cajole me? You say get out here to Vegas. I come out to Vegas to talk to somebody who's back in Florida. I live in Tampa. I just don't get it. I don't. My mind can't wrap itself around all this.
That's just the way the cookie crumbles, as they say. Anyway, Dr. Bob, let me kick it off and ask you this. You work with a lot of different types of people. Obviously, they have different types of personalities. How do you convey a singular message, if you will, to people that have varying personalities? How do you make that stick?
Well, there's different strokes for different folks, and it's almost like eating. Everyone's going to go to the salad bar and they're going to actually take a little bit of this, maybe a little bit of that. Maybe they don't like this. But what we're trying to do with every player is really create sort of a master salad, a psychological salad, and create a personal playing philosophy that matches them. For instance, years ago, a group of men came to me and women and said, "We would like for you to work with this player who is well known on tour for wearing some really outrageous outfits and could grip it and rip it." I won't give his name. I'm just everybody probably
Okay.
knows who it is. But they said he just makes way too many bogeys in a round. And I'm going, but he also makes 7 to 8 birdies in a round. And when you try to actually take a draft horse and try to make him a thoroughbred, it's not a good fit. Or a thoroughbred, make him a barrel racer. It just doesn't work. Same thing with golfers. We've got swingers, we've got hitters,
Right.
we've got classic swing styles. So when I actually meet a player, I'm just asking them just very simply, right, from the bat, what is it that you want to do? Where is it you want to go? And how best do you want to approach this? So
Right.
I really want them to give me some feedback so I can actually talk to them and say, okay, this is really what you've told me. I'm excited to actually work with you, but I'm not going to actually change you and try to make this square peg fit into this round hole.
Right.
One size fits all, because in this game, well, there's a lot of different ways to get the ball in the hole. And I think, this past couple of years, we've seen that. We've seen the Bryson DeChambeaus, the Brooks Koepkas, the Colin Morikawas. We've
Right.
seen the Lydia Ko's. We've seen different players have different styles. But really, what's the whole point about being a golfer? It's to get the ball in the hole
Right.
in the least amount of strokes.
Right.
And that's the bottom line. No matter what it looks like, no matter what anyone thinks about it, but if you really like the way you play, then that's what we're going to be happy with.
That's exactly right. And like they say, there's no pictures on the scorecard. It's all about getting the ball in the hole, as you say. You work with a lot of tour players, a lot of elite amateurs. But let's say somebody comes up to you that is an elite amateur, and then you have somebody coming to you like Jamie, who I guess you could call a chopper. No, actually, Jamie's a very good player. But you got a 20 handicapper coming to you. You got an elite amateur coming to you. What is the challenge for you to make those individuals understand what you're trying to convey to them? Does the elite amateur need as much as the 20 handicap, or vice versa?
It really depends on the individual. When people have sort of what I call this mastery mindset, is that they want to get better. They have passion in wanting to get better.
Right.
The toughest students, the toughest clients, are those that feel they know it all and feel they have all the answers, and they're sort of a shut book. So my greatest students are those that really want to learn. I don't care really what handicap they are, what level on tour they are. If they're motivated to learn, these are the people that I'm actually willing to work with, because if they're willing to commit to these mental and emotional strategies, then I'm willing to commit myself 100% and invest my talents in helping them get to where they want to go.
Right.
But the message is the same.
Is the same.
And I'm not one of these people to dumb it down at all. In fact, I think golfers are very savvy, very smart, and I'm not going to dumb it down. Even when I'm talking to like an 8, 9-year-old, 10-year-old new student to the game who loves it, but really beats up on himself, I'm going to take those same things I'm talking to a tour player, and I will apply it to this little 9, 10-year-old, whether it's boy or girl, and say, this is really why you want to be doing this.
Right.
And it doesn't help you to get mad and to get angry. So for me, the message is the same. I don't really dilute it, but I do try to simplify so that whoever's talking with me can keep step, because I want to be talking apples to apples with
Right.
every one of my students.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Jamie's got a question for you.
Yeah, Dr. Bob, a couple of decades ago, I was on a national radio show, and I was doing some coverage at Saucon Valley, where they had the senior Open Championship, and somebody whom I had met on numerous occasions was Jim McLean, a renowned teacher, and he had qualified. And at the end of the round, I came out and interviewed him. He did not have a good round. And I asked the question saying, Jim, I know that you prep other tour type players for championships. And he was, you could tell he was drained, he was frustrated. And when I asked him about, do you look at this as a learning experience? He said, absolutely, and it may modify some of the things I do in terms of talking to the other players. I guess my question would be, especially since you're working with David Ledbetter, the technical preparation, the technical side of the game, which players tend to be, and I have to say I'm fairly analytical. How does that work in terms of getting to people and helping them? Because it seems like you've got these two different things that could be working in tandem or in opposition. Have you found that at all? And if so, how do you deal with
That's
it?
a good question.
Well, it's a great question, Jamie, and I think we can go right to David and many of his prize pupils. Let's take a look at Sir Nick Faldo. Nick was really what we would consider a technocrat. I mean, he was very technical, but he wanted things to think about. He needed like little swing cues, little triggers, a lot of them. And he would work very hard with David. And one of the great stories that I remember hearing David talk about is that when they were working on a lesson, just trying to get a couple of key movements, in an hour or 2 hour period, I think Nick only hit 6 balls. So he was really working on the movement to get this motor sequencing correct before he actually started just lock and load and hit balls. So you have Nick Faldo, who's a technocrat, versus someone like Nick Price, who has a very fast tempo.
Yeah.
And Ernie Els, who David always worked with, and they had different styles, and they didn't need as much. And that's the great thing about great teachers such as David Ledbetter and all the other great teachers of the swing, is that they're only going to give as much as the student can really comprehend. And what happens is the very best teachers know when to stop teaching and stop coaching. They say, I need you to do this, and if you do this, everything else will fall in place. And so my style is not to think so much about, okay, you need to be doing this, but I'm going to incorporate their technique into their routine, into their playing style. So when they go to the golf course, they feel totally comfortable with this style of instruction, the style of learning, so they can go out and just play the game from point A to point B to point C. My job is to simplify and just cut out all of this technical fat so they can actually fall in love with their target with the swing processes that they have practiced and overlearned through repetition.
One other follow-up question is, I've had some success, but what I found is when you play in tournament conditions, whether it's small or large, that in terms of nervousness and that, and I think this would be echoed by the tour players, the more you play in it, over time, you get more relaxed. And I find that no matter how much you want to be prepped, you really need to just keep doing it. So for the players who just either try to do that or the first time out, no matter, I think, how you prep for it, that nervousness will get you to push you back into what you may fall back on your other triggers. There could be negative of that. Have you ever talked about that for the guys who say, I got something big that I'm going to play in this, so I don't want to be a nervous wreck, but is it just you've got to have the experience, you've got to have the trial by fire to really get to that point, or are there things that you can give them to help get them in that mode?
Jamie, if I had a dollar bill for every time I've heard that, I would be almost a billionaire. There'd be no doubt about that.
When do I pay you?
Because there's no substitute, none at all. I don't care how much you practice, how much you prepared. There's no substitute for actual fire of competition. That's why we say repeated exposure breeds composure. And that's really what we want. We want an athlete not just to be confident, but to be comfortable in their own skin, comfortable with their playing style, but also composed. So they can actually play in this tournament and say, this is a tournament, but I don't want my players, saying, "Oh, I've got another tourniquet I've got to play in. I'm just getting ready to choke myself." I want them to go out. I want them to go out and say, "This is an enjoyment." I never hear players talk like that. I'm getting ready to play in an enjoyable experience.
Right.
You always hear players making it big. I mean,
Right,
they make
right.
a mountain out of a
True,
molehill. Oh, it's
true.
big. And see, the greatest foe, FOE, that we have in golf is our own self-doubt. I really want to talk about this because self-doubt is always our greatest interference in any performance activity in life, social situations, business situations. And FOE, and I love the acronym, it means is that when you focus on outcome expectations like score, results, what other people think, my handicap, my reputation, that becomes a real distraction. So I'm going to use foe, and actually defeat the foe by, changing the word. Instead
Right.
of focusing on outcome and expectations, we actually just really want to focus on execution.
Yep.
Meaning the most important number in golf is one, the one shot we're facing. And if I can execute this shot as well as I can, everything that I want tends to come to me.
Right.
I think it's interesting, we've got, the father-son PNC, parent-child, classic here in Orlando this week. We've got, Tiger and Charlie
Right.
Woods. And it was funny because Tiger was telling young Charlie, he says, "Charlie, listen, I knew this from my dad. My dad told me, and I'm going to tell you, I don't need you to be getting mad after every shot. I don't need you to be getting upset. You can't be carrying that trash from this shot to the next. You've got to be focused on the next shot.
Yep.
I need you to be clear on the next shot." So that's really what we talk about. To really beat, the foe of outcome expectations,
Right.
you've got to focus on execution. I've got a plan, I've got a strategy, I've got a routine, and here we go.
Let's do it. Well said. All right, Dr. Bob, hang with us. We're going to step away. We're going to take a short break here on the 19th Hole podcast. We come back. Jamie and I will come back. We're going to have a lot more with our special guest, Dr. Bob Winter. Stay with us. We return right after this.
When I first learned about Encore, I was a little taken back because I didn't know much about the ball. I went out and played a couple rounds with it, and I was just extremely surprised how this ball made up for what I was looking for in a golf ball 20 years ago. It's a very straight ball. It launches a little higher than other balls that I've used, which is ideal for the tour because we're playing firm and fast greens. A lot of the balls do fly very similar, but this ball reacts so much differently around the greens and inside 100 yards than any other ball I've ever played. The combination of this ball is the best ball that I've ever played.
Hey golfers, I've been a golf talk show host for a long time, and I've been playing golf even longer. Being in golf media, I've had the chance to play every ball ever made. I've tried them all. Well, my search is finally over because I found the best ball I have ever played with, and more golfers are finding the same thing. I started playing with the Elixir golf ball made by Encore Golf. Encore Golf has revolutionized both their golf balls, the Elixir or the Avant 55, or the brand new Vero X1, to where the performance of either will simply blow you away. It did me. If you're looking for better performance and durability with your ball, Encore Golf has it. Don't just take my word for it. Check them out at EncoreGolf.com and you'll become convinced, as I am, the first time you tee it up with Encore. It's the best performing ball for the price. Go to EncoreGolf.com and see for yourself. Your scores will love you for it. That's ONCORE Golf.com. Well, welcome back in, everybody, to more of the 19th Hole podcast for golfers. I'm Dennis Silvers, along with my co-host for Senior Delinquents, Jamie McWilliams, having a great conversation with the Confidence Doctor, and that we're talking about Dr. Bob Winters. And Doc, I want to ask you a question. I don't think we've ever, in all the times I've had you on the show, I don't think we've ever got into this, but I'm getting into this now with you.
Okay, all
Let's
right.
talk about hypnosis. There are some sports psychologists that use hypnosis. I don't know if you do or not. I don't know if you're licensed to do it or not. Doesn't matter. But in your opinion, would that help or hinder a golfer in their mental ability?
Well, I have been a member of the American Association of Professional Hypnotherapists.
Okay,
Even
now I
before
know. Now I
got-
know.
Even before I got into sports psychology and sports vision, I was looking at all sorts of meditation and positive psychology and just different practices of meditation.
Yeah.
And we really have to face a very simple fact is that almost all autosuggestion, meaning the way you talk to yourself, is a form of self-hypnosis. So we have, auto-hypnosis, that comes, through your conscious and subconscious. You have heterohypnosis, and then you have, self-induced hypnosis. So there's a lot of different factions, of being hypnotized. But what a person tends to think about, they tend to bring about. And I think Earl Nightingale said it best in 1953. He's talked about the strangest secret is that, the things that you think about most of the time start to show up, and that's the strangest secret of all. So there's other people say you can never outperform your self-image. So everything we're trying to do, with golfers is, to give you very positive, very purposeful, productive self-talk so
Right.
that when you're actually talking to yourself, this 5% of the conscious brain, so that the 95% of the subconscious that's really talking and really regurgitating this stuff all the time is sort of taking this in. So you have to be very careful of what you say to yourself, on the golf course and off the
Yeah.
golf course, because your subconscious takes that in. And I've always said, nothing positive comes out of a negative thought or a negative statement or a negative action. Nothing good comes out of that. And that's why so many people suffer from negatalk. It's negative talk.
Right.
And let's be very clear here. The professional literature is quite insistent and it's quite prevalent on this. Bad is stronger than the good. It's much easier, to get bad, to get negative
Sure.
much quicker
Sure.
than it is to be positive. And that's why at the end of the round, people are crying around the 19th hole. You're
Yeah.
sitting there and you're talking about all your bad luck and all the bad shots and how
Right.
it's terrible. And then the guy sitting next to you goes, well, you think that's bad. Let me tell you something, pal. I'll tell you a bad story.
Yeah, you're right.
But no one wants to sit around that 19th hole, like we're talking here on the 19th hole, and say, wow, I was just making too many putts out there today. I was en fuego. I had the best day of my life. And everybody's going to sit there and look at him and go, oh, shut up. We don't need to hear that. We don't need to, because
I'm so glad
misery
you
loves
said
company.
that. Because when
Yeah.
people come up to me and they go, Dennis, why are you talking to yourself all the time? I said, I'm not. It's hypnosis, man. That's all it is. So anyway, Jamie's
I
got a
have-
question for you.
Yeah, well, actually, this is your opinion. Now, I've done a lot of work with comedy clubs and that, and I actually did a thing with, the comedy hypnosis thing. And in the Golf Writers Championship, that's being in the Golf Writers, which I played in a number of times, I actually think there was a form of hypnosis that I practiced, and you might find interesting. We got out there, and before we started the round, guy from San Francisco comes over to me and he says, I got to change cards. I have to sit with you. He says, the guy's a smoker. And he says, I can't take smoke. I can't take smoke. And oh, okay, I understand. So he switched his clubs over and he goes, I hate this guy. I hate this guy. And I said, well, you know him? And he goes, no, but he's so on my nerves. I just can't stand him. So I just got, okay, fine. Start off, and he's a good golfer. hooks the ball over. He starts a miserable round, and he just keeps complaining. But it was always like the Trump haters. It was like always, but Bob over here. I think his name was always. I can't stand Bob. He's on my nerves. He's driving me crazy. And I just, because you now get a little bit of my personality, all I did was keep cracking jokes, taking it lightly, just wearing him down, always just little things and little jibes and that. And by the second 9 holes, he started to turn. And by the end of the round, he's buying drinks with Bob. He's having a great time. They became friends. And it's just my philosophy is saying, you start out with a bank of goodwill, but if you start griping, complaining, and making yourself miserable, then you lose all of that.
That's
and by
exactly right.
being, and the point is being, I said, you can never have a bad round of golf if you have the right attitude and just enjoy it no matter what.
For what it is. I agree with you totally. That's a good. Dr. Bob, is developing a good pre-shot routine part of having a good mental game?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that is perhaps one of the most strategic findings in all the sports psychology literature. I was privileged to be back at the University of Virginia with Dr. Bob Rotella, Dr.
Right.
Linda Bunker, and one of my great colleagues, great friends, Dr. Patrick Cohn, did his seminal work on pre-performance routines,
Right.
for activities, and especially using golf. So one of the things that we found is that the more specific you are about what you want to do, and you get sort of what we call a very systematic foundation of
Right.
behaviors, thoughts, and attitudes, and you couple them all together, integrate them into sort of a very nice, purposeful working pattern. When you step into the ball, your body knows what to do because you've already pre-programmed it. We call this neural priming in neuropsychology. You're just telling the brain, this is exactly what I want to do. And when I step into the ball, all I have to do now is just fall in love with my target
Right.
and swing, this automatic behavior to the target. And that's why we always tell people, when I'm over the ball, what should I be thinking? Well, when you're over the ball, the thinking's already done. You should be
Right.
looking and actually responding to your target, because the visual system drives the motor system directly. So you see the target, come back to the ball, and you
Go.
swing to the target with freedom and trust. And let me talk about that, because trust is really what Jamie was, sort of alluding to in all these different players. Trust in a motor learning world, as far as, your swing and your body, trust is the letting go of over manipulation, over controlling tendencies
Couldn't agree
that
more.
interfere with those processes that you have learned through practice and repetition. So
Couldn't agree more.
trust is the letting go of steering, trying to manipulate the club, trying not, to hit it left. Trust means, hey, everything's going to be okay. So when people say trust your swing, what they're really saying is trust yourself, trust your decision, and then just swing to your target. And that's why we say you want to fall in love with
Fall
your
in
target.
love with your target. I like that. Before Jamie comes in, I wanted to ask you, there's a zillion things you can do in the off season to practice your golf swing off of the golf course. Can you practice your mental game, Dr. Bob, off of the golf course? And if so, how do you do that?
Oh, absolutely. You can do, a lot of different things. In fact, one of the things that I think players, really need to start doing a little bit more is you could even have like a little flip chart of your home course. And you could actually sit there and start doodling and just sort of create, the fairway. And I did this, when I was a young person, many, many, many decades ago. And it really started helping me because it really created a template in my mind of where I wanted my ball to go. So I would actually create sort of this line. Maybe it was a draw, maybe it was a little fade, maybe it was a straight line to a specific spot out in the fairway I wanted to hit. Then I would actually take another line and put it onto the green. So in my mind, I was rehearsing playing that golf course in my mind. A funny story, many years ago, I was at TPC Players Club, and I was there with several of my players. A couple of them, were coming down the stretch, final day leading. But before we went out for the final day, I'm sitting there in the players' locker room, and I'm kind of waiting for a couple of my players. And here was Phil Mickelson, and Phil was about 10 feet away from me. He was sitting in a chair, and he was doing this.
Like the Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
And he was actually, and this is sort of what we call serpentining, with your hands, sort of creating it. Curtis Strange did it years ago, back in the 88 and 89 Opens. You'd see him out in the fairway. It would help him visualize, it would help his body imagery, see the shot. And I was sitting there, and Phil opened his eyes, and he looked up, and he saw me, and he goes, "How long have you been watching me?" And I said, "I think, you were playing the 15th hole, 16, the par 5, and then 17. And he goes, you're pretty good. That's really funny. But that's really what it was. So the great ones, they imagine things. I mean, one of the big things is you never really hear people talk about this, but it's just an old story. You ever have players just sit around and just go, "What are you thinking about?" And they go, "I'm thinking about playing great. I'm really thinking about, really hitting good shots." Because years ago, when they came into the Cleveland Browns locker room, and this is a long time ago, Jim Brown was there. One of the reporters who was given access at that time, which was very rare, and he said, "Mr. Brown, what are you thinking about?" And Jim Brown sort of looked at him. He goes, "Football." He goes, what does that mean?" He goes, "Everything. I'm thinking about looking for daylight. I'm thinking about running fast. I'm thinking about holding on to the ball. I'm thinking about making touchdowns." And I think that's what we need to do as golfers. We need to start thinking about making putts, hitting great drives, and start seeing good shots. And that's how you actually start training the brain. You start really putting in the good stuff so you can actually, take some, you start making those good deposits into this mental memory bank so you can take some withdrawals and actually start applying it to the golf course.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Dr. Bob, stand by. We're going to take another short break, and Jamie and I come back. We will finish up the show with Dr. Bob Winters, a.k.a. the Confidence Doctor. Stay with us. We're back right after this.
One of the buzzwords happening in golf is the word lag. You hear it all the time, but what is it, and how do I get it? Lag simply is the loading of the club to help produce tons of power in your golf swing. Up until now, getting lag into your swing has been very hard. Introducing the Lag Shot, a brand new proven training aid being praised by some of the leading PGA Tour instructors across the globe. This practice aid trains your hands, arms and body how to make a powerful, efficient golf swing with an amazing amount of lag. Lag Shot is a 7-iron length club with the same loft and lie with a whippy, flexible blue shaft and a beautiful jet black club head. After you master the Lag Shot, your game will change forever with a stress-free swing, more power and more distance with lower scores every time you play. Go to lagshotgolf.com and you'll see why this truly is becoming the #1 training aid in golf. Visit lagshotgolf.com. As golfers, we want instant gratification when it comes to a better golf swing and playing better golf. Impossible, you say? Not anymore. Golf Boost Artificial Intelligence (AI) has developed and patented the most advanced swing analysis technology in golf. Simply, the algorithms detect your body position and then analyze your golf swing using their artificial intelligence technology. The AI captures all the relevant data from your swing video and then presents you a personalized lesson. Golf Boost AI is the ultimate swing analysis and virtual instruction system for golfers of all ages and abilities. This sophisticated software takes into consideration your height and build, playing level, and returns the ideal solution for your swing. Bottom line, Golf Boost AI is an incredibly convenient and cost-effective tool for golfers to improve their swing. Go to golfboost.com and check it out. The app is free to download and try. Visit golfboost.com today.
All right, we are back with more with Dr. Robert Winters, aka Dr. Bob, and you've got to get a 2-shot on Jamie. What's going on?
I just made a hole in one. Thank you, Dr. Bob. It was on a mini golf
I
facility,
love that.
but it's still a hole in one.
I told you
It's a hole
Dr.
in
Bob
one.
was good, but that's awesome. Speaking of Phil Mickelson, Dr. Bob, talked to a very good friend this morning. As a matter of fact, I'm sure you know Dean Rymeth, who worked with Phil for many years. He was a kid, and Dean is a great guy. Dr. Bob, how everybody practices banging their driver, everybody hopefully practices their short game. How do you make the mental game more sexy, more appealing to the weekend player?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, I wish I had something to put in a bottle, because if players knew how important, their attitude, their mind, just making clear decisions. My last book, I've written a new book called The Confidence Course, but Mistake-Free Golf, First Aid for Your Golfing
Right.
Brain. I had 9 very basic mental mistakes. And the one thing, I was saying in this book, and they can still get this book in Amazon or different places, Mistake-Free Golf. The point of it is, what are the great mental mistakes? What are the same mental mistakes that a 20 handicapper, a 5 handicapper, a tour pro, what are those mistakes they're making? And the number one mistake that most players make is that they don't make a clear decision about the shot they're going to hit, and then they doubt themselves when they step into the ball. And then because they doubt, they don't back away. So, I mean, one of the most important things that I can tell people is, you have to be absolutely sure when you step into a shot, this is what I want to do.
Right.
It's like getting in your car and say, Jamie lives in Tampa. I live in Orlando, and I want to come see Jamie McWilliams, okay? So I get in my car. I want to go to Tampa to see Jamie.
Right.
But, almost 99% of golfers step in the car and they go, wow, I hope I don't end up in Miami. All right. I mean, it's something totally the different thing that they want. And so when people say, boy, I don't want to leave this short, I don't want to hit this left, I don't want to hit it in the water, they're giving themselves negative programming, and they sabotage, anything good that they might have been thinking about. So that's the whole point about getting your mind in the right place. A directed mind, a purposeful mind, says this is going to give you the very best chance of being successful. And if I could just help, people fall in love with that idea, just the idea of where is it, you want your ball to go? What do you have to do? It's very simple. Make, a very direct statement to say, this is what I want to have happen, and step in and do it. And a lot of people say, well, what if I don't believe it? But here's the point. You have to actually, do it until you become it. You can't fake it. There's no faking in this game. There's no BS in golf.
That is so
because
true.
every time you step into a golf shot, think about this, and both of you know this, and our viewing audience knows this, is that when you step into a shot and you have doubt, that little white golf ball senses it, and it actually reflects all of that doubt. But if you step in and you have a very purposeful mindset, it's funny how that little white pellet tends to find, that destination that you intended to go to in the first place.
That is so true. And I remember, Dr. Bob, early on when we first started doing interviews, you gave me some great advice as far as getting the negativity out of your mind to start the round. You know this, players get on the first tee and they go, hey guys, no 3-putts today. I'm not going to hit any balls in the water. I'm not going to lose any balls today. And you said, why even start the round with negative thoughts like that? What do you think about that? And that was great advice that you gave me. And secondly, why in the hell would you get in the car to go see Jamie in the first place?
He's a great guy. This is the first time I had a chance to meet him. Hopefully we can actually tee it up here sometime soon, Jamie. But here's the point. A lot of golfers, they say things not mean-spirited, but just unknowingly. I don't want to say they're ignorant, but they're unenlightened. They'll say things like, wow, there's a lot of water here in this golf course, especially down here on
Right.
this left side.
Right.
And so they've already planted that seed of doubt in your mind. And
Correct.
I'm glad you brought this up, because confidence is on one side of this scale here. On the other side is doubt and worry. Now, when people are playing with a lot of trust and confidence, I mean, hey, you're making all the putts to drive. Golf's fun. And it's easy to walk, talk, and act like a champion when everything's fun.
Yeah.
But if you miss that first 2-footer or a couple, shots go yank left, whoop, doubt takes over. And it's really hard to sort of put, that emotional and physical damage behind you. And that's why acceptance, being able to accept a bad shot and realize it's just a shot, to put it behind you so you can move forward to the next shot. And that is really where 99.9% of all golfers should unbelievably benefit from. Learning
Totally.
how to accept and being patient. Because I said being patient. Patience is confidence waiting
Yeah.
to happen. Because if you're getting impatient, you're getting frustrated, you're getting angry, well, anger is one letter away from danger. And when you have angry thoughts, self-destruction thoughts, you've actually put your golf game right in the toilet. So that's why your brain, your mind is the most important club in your bag. And if we can get players to think the right things at the right time, voila, they start playing their very best golf, and they go, wow, now that was fun. And then at the end of the day, because they don't really have any idea what they did, they'll ask everybody else. They'll say, what the hell was I doing out there? Did you see? What was I doing? And it wasn't anything, and it wasn't rocket science. It was
No.
just them getting their thoughts
Big,
together
big.
and and saying, this is what I want to do. Let's have some fun with
Right.
it, and let's enjoy my process.
That's exactly right. Jamie, take it on, buddy.
You
Go
know,
ahead.
Dr. Bob, on a few occasions, I've had times when I've hit shots that I could not believe how good they were, and I've had shots that I'd say I couldn't duplicate how screwed up they were. But on several occasions, I had won tournaments where I had made a mistake, I missed a green, and I had to hit a perfect shot, and I pulled it off. I said, I screwed up coming to the final hole, the 18th, and I said, you still got one more great putt in you, commit to it.
Yeah.
And I think at that level, it is that, and you can't say it was like just, oh, put it behind you, because you're frustrated, you're angry, but you can elevate your level of your game by that level of commitment. But it's like you're going to a hyper concentrated type of a mood. Have you personally seen that too? Times you've learned from that? Times
I've seen it. I've experienced it myself as a player, as a coach, and I've seen it 10,000 times. And it's the power of the human being, of the human spirit. It's
Yeah.
called willpower.
Yeah.
But the problem with most human beings, they have more won't power
yeah.
versus willpower. And the question becomes, will I allow myself to really find out how good I could be today? Because when you say I won't, you're really saying I won't allow myself this opportunity to find out how good I can be. So when people say I don't have it, I can't, I
Yeah,
damaged my
yeah.
round, they've already thrown the towel, they've already folded the tent.
Right.
And that's really when people come to me and I'm sitting here going, hey, it's just a matter of getting your mind, your attitude, and your emotions moving in the right direction, because you have to ask yourself, golf is really a fork in the road. Do you go out to play great, or as great as your talent will allow?
Right.
Or do you try not to screw up and hope, that you won't mess up?
Exactly.
And those are two different roads. And I guarantee you the 1%ers go on this road to play great.
Yep.
And the rest of the world is going down to this road that's a really super highway of negativity. And so that's
Absolutely
really my
correct.
job. and that's
Especially
why
in a
I'm trying to-
pro-am,
Yeah.
a pro-am
Oh,
where you're saying,
absolutely.
I just don't, I know people have come up and say, their prayer is almost, please don't let me screw up so badly. Please don't let me
Well,
look
yeah,
like an
they're
idiot.
playing in,
Yeah.
with a professional, they're playing in front
Right.
of people, but that's never been Dr. Bob's problem.
Yeah.
We're going to let you go. I know you're busy. Thank you so much for taking time out. It's always great having you on the show. Great information. I know I get a lot of positive feedback from our viewers. And again, we're going to have you back on sooner than later. I want to wish you, I want to wish your family, everybody a very, very happy holiday, Dr. Bob.
All right, and Jamie, you and the Silver Fox, I always want you guys to remember one thing. I want you to have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year 2022. And remember, the moment you change your mind, you change your game. Thanks,
You're
fellas.
right. You're right. Good deal.
See
Thank
you
you,
in
Dr.
Florida.
Bob. We'll see you soon. Appreciate it. All right. Great guy. And that's why he's so good at what he does. All right. We're going to step away, take one more break, and Jamie and I come back. We're going to close up the show for you. Be right back.
Innovation begins at a single point. Elements, each with their unique character. Fire-forged steel creates unprecedented control. Chemistry delivers a touch so soft, combined to create a level of performance previously unimagined. Like magic, the Elixir, the new Tour Ball from Encore.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. It was a great show with Dr. Bob. He's always a good guest. And I want to get in a shameless, well, it's not so shameless. I want to get in a plug about what me and Jamie do. Go for it.
Well, we want you to look at Senior Delinquents. We try to talk about anything and everything.
Everything we do.
Whether we like it or dislike it, always with a little bit of fun, a little bit of style. Please go to the website, seniordelinquents.com. It's now up and running. And take a look. And then hopefully you'll tune in for the show and judge for yourself. And if you have ideas, we want to hear them because we are willing to take on anything. We are, I wouldn't say, well, fearless. Maybe a little bit loopy too, but
Yeah.
we're not going to turn away
Fearless.
any ideas.
And that's info@seniordelinquents.com. We'd love to hear from you. Anyway, thank you, Jamie, for being on the show with me. It was terrific. And we want to wish you a very, very happy holiday again as well. So keep it in the short stuff. And we will see you back same time, same place next week. So long, everybody.